this house. But one of the things that was imprinted on me to know about was that gigantic experiment that was going to be happening on November 17th, 18th, and 19th in Cairo, Egypt, which actually started there on the 16th. But and I was to put the call out, and whoever wanted to show up would show up, and they would be monitored day and night the rest of their stay on the planet. When I say monitored, I must say that they would be given crystalline implants, and these would be implants that would be placed in their bodies. And I don't think there's any way that those implants can be taken out. Those are regulated by the Pleiadians. And once you put your hand up for this kind of assignment or this kind of experiment, it's very hard to opt out of it.
Were you told that you were to be there to officiate this initiation?
Yes, I was told that I would take these 2 hand crystals that had been given to me, and that I was to, there were mantras, there were sounds that I was to make, and there was a particular kind of resonant tone that I prepared my body for 1 full month. I did these sounds for a period of time every day, preparing my physical body to hold the kind of energies that I was going to have to hold when doing these particular experiments. And when I look back on it now, I'm really glad that I did this extended practice time, because when the Pleiadians came and actually hooked me up to this frequency, if I had not prepared my body frequency-wise, I could have died. In fact, I think I came very close to dying, because the intensity was so strong. You know, when you blend another kind of consciousness with another consciousness, you know, it's like trying to put a plug into a 120 into a 220. It doesn't work. So I had to practice being a 220 for a month just so I could hold the resonant tone. It's very hard to describe what it was that I really went through. But since I had a double pineal, and that was part of the requirement for me doing this work, was that I actually had like an extra set of consciousness in my body that was able to hold this.
How do you know that you have a double pineal?
When I was in the Los Angeles area back in 1974, I was having headaches, and I went to see a doctor, and they took a picture of my head and said I had a tumor and that they wanted to remove it. And at that time I was living in the Hollywood Hills with this channel the channel's name was Frenette, and she told me, she says, do not let them operate because you have a double pineal. So I got the x-ray, or whatever you want to call it, showing where this was, and of course it was sitting right on my pineal, and there was 2 of them, and I could see that, and I did not let them operate. And because of this double pineal, for many years after that, this is how that I was communicated with. They would come and go the other side of me through this double pineal. In other words, when I would channel information, I would still be present. I didn't have to, drop out or go into a trance and allow them to come and use my body, because I was always conscious the entire time that they would come.
As we know, the pineal is called the seat of the soul, or the third eye, so in effect you kind of have a Siamese twin type soul location in your brain.
Right.
Okay. Now,
there's others like me on the planet, and when they designed me, and I say they designed me because I was genetically engineered, there's 11 others that were designed at the same time as me. I have not met any of them, but they say at some point in time that there is a good chance that they will arrange the meeting for all of us to come together at some point.
So, okay, you were told through this communication system that you were to go to Cairo. You prepared yourself physically, and you went to Cairo. Tell us about the little crystals.
Yes, before I left on this trip, I was told to secure a group of tiny, tiny quartz crystals that could only be found in a place called the Jeffries Mine in Arkansas. And when I researched the Jeffries Mine, I found that it was underwater. Therefore, I had to hire divers to go down and get these tiny, tiny crystals. And they were very, very tiny, but they were double terminated and open on both ends. They're solution quartz crystals, meaning that they grow in the water. And also, there has to be some gold frequency for them to be able to grow, which was another attribute of these little crystals. So I secured about 40 pounds of them, and had several people to hand deliver them. But there was one interesting thing that happened. By the time I got to New York, and as they were being relayed to me, I found out that the person that had them in Dallas had actually taken half of them out to take them to Rio Dosa to be charged, and left me with a lot of trash crystals. So I had to call my friend Belva Bloomer, and I asked her to, drop what she was doing, jump on an airplane, and she and her friend Carol, they went and secured another batch of crystals, and they showed up in Cairo, Egypt, about 2 hours before I was ready to go inside the pyramid. And at that time, it was it was a thrill a minute waiting for those crystals to show up, because I knew that they had an assignment for these crystals. And these crystals, later I named them the Giza crystals, they were taken into the Queen's Chamber, activated for 2 days and 2 nights, and they were brought back to me, and I asked the Pleiadians, I said, what should I do with these? And they said, well, you have crystal workers, and they're the balancing beam between nature and man. And you can plant them at the base of trees, around mountains, in Devic kingdoms. They can be healing devices if someone is critical. If there's a life and death situation, you have permission to pop them in your mouth and take it and swallow it with water. And so I was just asking a lot of questions about these crystals, and finally they said, look, you have nothing on your planet to measure these crystals with, because they're 7 million times celestial power, and you have nothing to measure it with. And with that, I just kind of stopped asking questions at that time. Later on, in a couple of days after the initiation, the mayor of Giza came to my hotel room and wanted one of the crystals. And I said, sure, and I handed him one, and he popped it in his mouth and chased it with scotch. And I just stood there in horror. I said, why did you do that? He said, because I'm going to be operated on tomorrow for a very serious operation, and they tell me that I may not make it. So the next day when he was operated on, they said that a blue light came into the room, and there was a strong healing that took place, and his operation was very successful. And of course, everyone was talking about it at this point because he was the mayor of Giza. He was also the nephew of President Mubarak, and it caused quite a stir. And I was very lucky just to go to the airport and fly out of there, because all of a sudden people wanted these crystals.